welcome again. This session we have an expert from the e-commerce sector. Even before, even during the pandemic, the e-commerce, particularly the supply of groceries, food items were uninterrupted, apart from government restrictions, and at the same time, the customer safety was given utmost care. To discuss and share the experiences, we have Mr. Balakumar TK, Chief Operating Officer of BigBasket.com, the largest online supermarket. To chair the session, we have Mr. Sridhar Aranala, Vice President of Sales and Distribution at the Hindu Group. So before I introduce, we introduce Mr. Balakumar, let me have a brief introduction about Mr. Sridhar. He is a progressive leader with a career spanning around 2.5 decades of experience in sales and service operations across key industries, which impacts the daily life of people. Currently, he is Vice President of Sales and Distribution, and also the Executive Management Committee at the Hindu Publishing Group. He has exposure with several industries like Madura Ports, Gillette, Hindustan Lever, Bharat Airtel, and Tata Communications, and of course with the Hindu Group. He has worked in the industrial sector like FMCG, telecom media. His roles and exposures include consumer sales, brand activation, customer relationship management, product launches, marketing of new products, circulation sales, and to name a few. So with that brief introduction, I hand over the session to Mr. Sridhar to introduce Mr. Balakumar and to start the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for those kind words and introduction. I would not spend much time. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining for this session. I have privilege in introducing Mr. TK Balakumar, fondly called Bala, and I would take the liberty of referring him as Bala from here. Bala, is a industry veteran with about 35 years of experience behind him. He's worked in various industries. He's worked with companies like Xerox, IBM, Airtel, Tata Tele, and then now he's with BigBasket as a Chief Operating Officer. He's been in the CXO role for the last 15 years, and no better person for us to listen from when we got this idea of understanding the cross-industry practices, and especially during the COVID times. I think along with us, who suffered massively during the pandemic, and we waded through, I'm sure the previous session would have thrown light on how this and how the news media industry has waded through and ensured majority of the papers are reaching to the households. In the similar lens, we wanted to understand cross-industry practices and how BigBasket has handled the pandemic. And we also thought, having had the opportunity to have the likes of Mr. Bala, it would be good for us to actually get a deep sense of the entire operations of BigBasket, and probably have a keen ear on understanding how they operate and pick up some nuances which we can either try for synergies or maybe try and emulate in our industry. So Bala, I've realized that he's also a good writer until I bumped upon his recent leadership series that he launched in LinkedIn. I must compliment his written fantastic pieces, especially your piece on transitions is really good, and the manager to leader. I think all the three pieces that you wrote were really good, and I'm looking forward to the fourth one. So maybe we will chat at the end on that as well. So without further ado, I hand over the stage to you, Bala, and then I'll come back after your presentation and we'll chat the nuances. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridhar. Thanks for those nice words. We've worked together earlier, so it's always a pleasure to connect with you. It's also a great opportunity for me to share. I mean, I've always believed, as I told you in our conversation, cross-functional learnings have been of immense value to me personally. That's one of the reasons why I've also enjoyed a good stint in different industries and continue to do so. But to that extent, I think I'm really privileged to be here to share whatever little I know, whatever little that we have been gone through, and if it's going to be of any value to anyone of the listeners here, I think I'll be very happy. And I'm also sure this experience is also going to make me learn that much more, right? So thank you very much. And I'll start now, and I'll just share the screen, and I have a small PPT to make. I'll quickly run through this presentation and dive a little deeper into the COVID scenario, how we handled, what are some of the challenges, and then post which, I'll take any questions that anybody may have, right? Okay, so I'm the Chief Operating Officer of BigBasket. Joined BigBasket about 5 years back, little more than 5 years now. It's been a fantastic journey so far. Just a moment, screen is not moving.
So it was okay, sir. The sound.
Moving now?
Yeah, it was, but not now, sir.
Okay, no, I have to share the screen. Wait.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So BigBasket, as Sridhar rightly mentioned, we are the largest online retailer. At this point of time, company started in 2011. Had some 8-9 years of fantastic run so far. We are currently operating in about the top 26 cities in the country. And we have roughly about 30,000 employees, and out of which about 22,000 plus are people who are from the lower income group, which is what we call as a blue collar workforce. We handle about 30,000 products, and we currently handle in excess of 11 million orders a month. The good news is that our stickiness is quite high. About 80% of our customers continue to buy, and this is measured as customers who buy at least once in 3 months. We have lots of unique visitors. We have about 10 million plus unique visitors, and last year we ended about a gross sales of about 4,800 crores, and currently we are already on a run rate of in excess of $1 billion. And some of the key metrics that we have in measuring our customer experience are on fill rate. Fill rate is nothing but if customers ordered for 1,000 items, how many orders we have been able to deliver. How many items we have been able to deliver. That's what is fill rate. That we are consistently at 99.5% and above. Right? And then delivery is, many of you must have experienced it. It's against slotted time. We give a committed time to customers for delivery, and against those time, what is the percentage of order that we delivered within the agreed time? That's about 99%. We also have the net promoter score, and that's at a healthy 39%. This again is one metric that took a beating during the COVID time, and been able to bounce back in the last at least 45 days or so. And we enjoy, there's no organized measurement for this, but internal measure shows that we have, about slightly more than 40% of our online grocery market share. And our dreams are these three. We keep harping on this, in all our internal communication with everybody in the system. First one is we want to be the most preferred destination for customers for all their grocery shopping needs. And second important thing, we want to be the most preferred partner for the farmers across the country. I have a slide later to substantiate where we are on this particular dream of ours. And the third one is very clearly, we want to be the most preferred employee for the large blue collar workforce in India. So these are the three clear dreams that we have, and all our actions are centered around these three dreams. This is broadly our business model. So, we were the pioneers in terms of starting up what is called an inventory-led model, right? So we have our own inventory, right? This is our warehouse where we hold our inventory, and we get the supplies from various players, including large branded foods, FMCG players, and key suppliers are our farmers. We buy from farmers a big chunk of, in excess of 80% of our total fresh products, fruits and vegetables purchased are directly from farmers, taking away all the layers of handover, which happens in a traditional form of distribution. And then from there, we actually supply to our what is called the dark stores, which are neighborhoods, dark stores, so closer to the customer catchment. And then we supply to the BB daily system, which is early morning slot for customers. Then we also have a small B2B segment where we supply to registered Kirana stores, and we also supply to HoReCa, which is hotel, restaurants, and catering industry. And the last mile is typically delivered through 28 slots that we currently operate in major metros. Of course, up to 28 slots because it depends on the volume and the density of customers in that particular city. So, but minimum slot will be about 4 slots in a day, morning 2 and evening 2. And in places like Bangalore, we'll have almost 28 slots because it's very densely populated. We deliver through vans and we also deliver through bikes, right? At present, largely we are delivering at homes, and we're also, exploring options of, can we deliver at offices so that people can pick their bags in the evening when they leave home and carry their grocery pack. Then we were looking at, can we keep some delivery at the metro exits or malls and all. But currently, they are still at question mark because the last 6 months have been of a completely different challenge. So this is our farm to fork strategy on fruits and vegetables. So we have, 50,000 acres of partnership through 20,000 farmers across the country. We have about 40 collection centers from where we directly source the articles or the, what we call as the SKUs, the fruits and vegetable item from farmers directly. From there, the sorting happens in terms of quality check and all. Then the distribution happens to the warehouses or to the stores that we saw in the previous slide, from where it actually goes to the end customers. That's how we do. And the key benefits are very clearly we are able to get a higher margin because we are directly sourcing. And naturally, because we are doing the QC check there, we have reduced wastage and most importantly, assured quality and therefore guaranteed freshness that we can offer to customer. I mean, as you can easily imagine, the toughest category to handle in a grocery segment is actually the fruits and vegetables, because it's first of all short shelf life, and second thing is it's also hypersensitive because it's related to food hygiene. So customers are fairly passionate and paranoid about the quality. So therefore that poses the maximum challenge for us. So we also introduce cold supply chain wherever required. If certain items have to be carried in a reefer vehicle, we do that. We also have a unique, fruits and weighing policy, and some of you might have experienced if you are customers. So if you place an order for, let's say, 1 kilo tomato, so obviously we can't weigh exactly to 1 kilo, but however, we assure the customer that in the event, if the weight is more than 105%, which is, let's say, 1 kilo and 50 grams, so if we will be billed only up to 1 kilo. That's the range. Therefore, the customer doesn't get any bill shocks or something. And it also takes care of what is called a moisture loss, which is a very typical phenomenon in dealing with these products. So, of course, we are an online company, so everything happens through online ordering. And now it's almost everybody has a smartphone, therefore it is on the app. Just to tell you, about 7-8 years before when we began the journey in our organization, the website, which is using laptops and PCs, used to be almost about 70% of the total orders, and smartphones used to be much, much lower those days. Right now, the whole thing is reversed. As we speak, it's almost about 70-80% through smartphones, which is through the app, and barely about 20% or 30% through the website, which is expected to happen in any case. So this is our, delivery person. I mean, in our industry, the only place where the rubber hits the road is actually when the delivery boy goes and knocks the door of a customer. He's the only person who physically or face-to-face has an interaction with customers. Basically, we call him a customer experience executive, and that's the reason we don't call him as a delivery boy or anything. Internally, we very clear. Everybody knows that he's a CEE, which is customer experience executive, and we give them uniform for them to be sort of carrying a pride that they work for Big Basket. Same time, they can also be easily identified by the customer. It also gives some sort of a security to customers when they see somebody coming in Big Basket T-shirt. Right? All of them are trained. I mean, nobody will be put on the job without being trained. It's one thing that I have mandated. There's no shortcut in this. I've always believed that unless a person is trained properly to handle the job adequately, there's no point in exposing, especially when he is going to be the only person who's going to meet the customer. Right? So before he is trained on the app, I mean, they all of them carry a handheld, and they are trained, very well trained on that. They are trained on social etiquette. They're continuously educated on how to deal with customers, and We also know how to deal with credits, because what will happen is when you take a chain, there will be some credit, or a customer may return an item for which the credit needs to be passed on. So they're all well trained. The app is comprehensive. The moment the transaction gets handled, immediately the credit or debit will happen depending on what is the type of transaction. And he's very well trained in handling all modes of payment, whether it is taking cash or coupons or, on delivery, or, including online. They can also guide the customer to make online payments. The other key initiator, that we have done is, we are in grocery, and we also understand that, a lot of sensitivity about our customer experience, and therefore we have chosen to enable without IVR. We don't have any IVR. I'm sure most of us will understand that, IVR, especially in an Indian context, it becomes difficult. Nobody likes to talk to a machine, but we will offer world-class experience, and therefore directly make our agents speak to the customer and then provide the service. And we also have very stringent 10-second pickup. We do 90% plus calls we pick up in 10 seconds and try to handle the customers through a direct access. This is something that has been widely appreciated by our customers also, that they don't have to wait in the queue, they don't have to press any button, but they can directly speak to our customer executives who can actually help them. We have all channels. We have calls being handled. We have emails, chats, social media, Twitter handle. So all modes are available for customers to interact with us for getting their queries and requests and complaints handled. Now I'll now get back to the core area. One of the objectives of the session is to really look at what has the pandemic done to all of us, both as individuals as well as various industries, right? And BigBasket was no exception. I mean, some of us would have seen, one of the things that we clearly saw was demand increase, right? And the demand increase shot up so much, you can see from the graph here. So in terms of, between 10th March and 1st April, so especially after the lockdown was announced, is when we really saw a huge spike in demand. Right? And the spike on some days went as high as 6x, 8x and all. And, there were times when even our website was getting tested. I mean, in the sense that there were fear that our website may crash, and we had to take some tough calls, which I'll cover in the subsequent slides. The other challenge is that, we saw in the first slide where I said that almost about 65–70% of our entire workforce is the blue collar workforce, which is what we internally call as a G2 workforce, right? Now, all attrited. I mean, meaning that, because of the fear, many of them in main cities, they actually come from the nearby villages or, nearby towns, stay in metro and work here for their livelihood. The moment fear came in, all of them went back. And they were also asked by their parents to come back. As a result, practically in 2–3 days time, we were left with only barely 25% of the workforce. And even they had a problem of commuting to office. Even if they wanted to come, no public transport available, and obviously they can't afford any other mode of transport. We had all the challenges, and government imposed strict movement restriction. It had its own challenges, vans not being allowed, bikes not being allowed. Even if we get a permission from the commissioner to say that we are an essential service provider, therefore we may be allowed, but the local police station, were actually stopping us, in spite of showing those orders and all. It required a lot of coordination, a lot of seeking help, reaching out to senior officials, repeatedly telling them that we are in essential service. And slowly but steadily, we started making strong headway on this. Our website got really stretched. There were many days, where it was, threatening to sort of crash. We had to take a call, and lots of orders had to be cancelled. And suddenly the lockdown was announced on 21st night. We already had about almost 70–80,000 orders received to be processed and to be delivered next day, which we just could not do because it took almost 3–4 days for us to sort of mobilize whatever little resources that we could. And by the time, we had huge write-off, dump, items got wasted, especially fruits and vegetables. It was a real chaos, right? And no slots. Now, because of huge demand, first of all, we were reduced by workforce by 75%. Therefore, if we earlier had the capacity to deliver, let's say 1,000 orders, we could barely do only 250 orders. So, and naturally, the demand was for 10,000 orders. And actually, customers started howling, saying that, look, we are not even seeing a slot, even for weeks together. It took a lot of time for us to continue to build the capacity, communicate with the customer, gain their confidence. In the whole game, our delivery system got very, very badly affected because they bore the brunt of challenges on the ground. First of all, their own health, their own fears, right? And then traveling through the road, reaching out the customer place for delivery, everywhere there was actually a challenge. So some of the measures that we took were, very clearly, we blocked the traffic. I mean, this traffic is not the road traffic. This is the traffic on a website, right? So we had to take the call. We just blocked the new visitors because, we had to take a decision between existing customers and new customers, especially when you're getting some skyrocketing demand. We took a call saying that we will serve the existing customers with the current challenges, and slowly, once the situation eases, we'll start opening for others. And similarly, we also blocked, because in our business, we also get traffic from cities wherein we don't operate. They just log in to check whether we are operational. So that also, adding to a lot of traffic, that also got blocked. Our database servers had to be upgraded by more than 50% on a short notice. That we did. And then we continue to communicate on slot availability. We obviously, not customers liked it, but we had to be transparent to tell them, saying that all the slots are full, try again, then we are experiencing difficulties. Slowly but steadily we started. Once we started increasing the capacity, we started communicating different messages. At one stage, we also started messaging on how many orders we delivered the previous day, right? So that, when customer sees that increasing from 20,000 to 30,000 to 40,000 on a day-on-day basis, that also gave confidence to the customer that we are slowly getting back on track. Right? And we had to tweak with a lot of product and engineering initiatives. First of all, we had to drive contactless delivery, right? Because a sizable chunk of our business used to be cash on delivery or card on delivery before COVID. And then a lot of societies were not allowing people inside. Naturally, therefore the deliveries had to be done at the security gate. And therefore we took this call saying that because we are doing contactless delivery, we will disable the cash on delivery and card on delivery. Therefore, we switched over to compulsorily a prepaid option for all the customers. Okay? And then we also said that we will not do bulk order cancellations. We will do bulk order slot changes. See, earlier, if for example, suddenly some rain happened or a vehicle met with an accident, the process used to be that we used to cancel the bulk orders, and all the orders in that particular van used to get cancelled. But now we realize that customers are already sort of challenged to get the slots, and they were feeling disappointed. Therefore, we introduced bulk slots. So which means that we'll slot change. Instead of delivering today, I'll try to deliver, and that required some product upgrade to create capacity for the subsequent day. And we managed that. The other thing we did was, in case of bulk cancellation, the earlier thing used to be that the refund used to go back to the wallet. That we changed because a lot of customers didn't like it, because they get a slot and afterwards there is a cancellation, even if it is due to the external environment related reasons. Therefore, we changed the process, say that the refund will happen to the source. That way, customer think that now we are just parking the money in our wallet. Right? A lot of technical, upgrades were done. And one more special thing we did was we introduced some special slots for quarantine, disabled, and senior citizens. This is something that a lot of customers have appreciated. We do have a data bank in every city of customers who are physically challenged or senior citizens who have been dependent on our service. We recognized it and started offering special slots for them. And it was a semi-automated process, not a fully automated process. It worked well, and we were very happy about implementing this. Marketing visibility of customers is what I said. Now we started showing the number of orders we delivered. We also extended the BB Star membership. We have a BB Star program where we offer some special privileges to BB Star membership customers. So we extended them because of the fact the challenge, they were not able to avail services without charging them extra. We extended the BB Star membership, and we kept on communicating to the customer. We also introduced token systems. Right? The slots are not available. Customers were actually giving us a feedback saying that you are making it a bit of a lottery system because I have to log in and check whether the slot is available. Why don't you, I'm committing to buy from you. Why don't you at least give me a slot, even if it is after 3 days? Then we the token system similar to what we actually see in banks and other places where you take a token and at least you are assured of a slot. Then you can come back and place an order. Started publishing the number of orders that we were processing. That gave confidence to customer that we are back in, action. So, we were only, and the other key decision we took was, we said that there's no point in going to your entire assortment of 20,000 because it's essential service. Therefore, even in a normal, let's say a rice pack, we took a call rather than offering a 1 kilo pack, 2 kilo pack, 5 kilo, 10 kilos, 20 kilos. We said we will reduce the taxes. Maybe we'll only offer 2 kilos and 5 kilo packs. So that our space was also better utilized and turnaround times are better. And we are also able to quickly pick and deliver. So that also helped. Like that, a lot of optimization we did, and we introduced apartment service. Right, we got our orders from a selected apartment. A lot of societies came together and placed orders, and we delivered them. So these are the key aspect of what we did. Amongst all the things that I briefed earlier, the most important thing was to take care of the people who work for us. Right, they are also human beings, so they need to be taken care. So we made sure that we introduced what is called a COVID protocol, which every location monitored. There were strict audits of that. Every day, every shift or every slot that the delivery people are going out, they were tested for their temperature, their health condition before going to delivery. Everybody was given a mask. Everybody was given gloves. Even today, they use a gloves to deliver items so that customer also gets the confidence that the products are being delivered in hygiene condition. So we also during the COVID time reached out to different modes of delivery. I mean, many of the Uber drivers, Zoom cars and others, the drivers who were actually not having any business, they reached out to us and they offered to deliver our products and services. That also we availed. I wouldn't say it was greatly successful, but in some geographies, we were able to actually use them quite well. So,
we have 5 more minutes. So maybe.
Yeah, I'll quickly wrap it. I'm almost toward the end.
Yeah.
We rolled out policies, guidelines for every location, and we defined processes and remote audits. And one thing we kept on communicating was the safety measures, right? I mean, any of the calls that we had with the region, myself and my CEO kept on saying that safety comes first. It means that even if it means that you have to slow down your business, please do that. So that way, a lot of confidence. We introduced COVID insurance for people, kept on reinforcing to them saying that we are there to take care of you and therefore you don't have to worry. And also in initial cases, we had one odd case in Bombay and all. We also decided to close down the store itself for 14 days as per the national health guideline that had come in that time. So where are we now? I mean, from we had gone as low as 70,000 orders a day, and I'm glad to report that we are now doing in excess of 350,000 orders a day now. Build back the capacity and do this, and obviously we are trying our best, and we are also receiving a lot of customer appreciation, which is making us really feel nice. And the best result we got was during this time was Redseer, a research agency, did an independent survey. In fact, they did not even tell us, and they did an independent survey in the marketplace to find out how the various players had performed during the pandemic post lockdown. And it was a pleasant but a good surprise for us that customers, on a large sample of almost about 1,300 across the country, around 3 index, which is basically a resilience index, innovation index, and empathy index. Was rated as the #1 service provider. And this is something which is hugely gratifying for all of us, especially for our frontline workforce. And we dedicate this completely to the frontline workforce who really made all of us proud in terms of what BigBasket can deliver, even in trying circumstances like what we have been through. That's where I am. So, Sridhar, now I'm any questions, Sridhar?
Yeah, if you can stop the screen share. Thanks, Bala. I think we could have gone for another 1 hour maybe. Time was haunting us. Thanks for taking us through a very detailed insights on how you're operating. There are various questions and I have a few of mine. So let me give priority to what we got it from the panel. So then, the possibility, I'll just try to mix some of them. They said, is there a possibility for us to look at synergies between newspaper? Are you guys looking at newspaper distribution? Is BB Daily an option? This is something that we said before the show.
I have to answer it on the fly because I've not really applied my mind. I think anyway, no, synergy as a word means that if there's an opportunity for synergy, why not
Absolutely.
benefits both the parties? You can look at it, can surely look at it. Yeah, I mean, the closest will be BB daily option. That's the closest one, which we go to many doorsteps.
Yes.
We should be able to discuss and see whether the synergy can be.
Sure, I think between for both of us, I think the last mile, the warriors who helped us stay where we are. I think for you, the delivery CEEs that we call, and for us, the entire delivery mechanism of they had ensured that the newspaper is delivered despite lockdown with all the issues that we had. I think those are the barriers that we need to really stand up, and really they've done a commendable job during the lockdown. Coming to another question, how do you disinfect vegetables? How do you guarantee to your in a complicated environment? How do you guarantee sanitize?
We don't use any disinfectant per se for vegetables. No, we're not unless otherwise they are allowed by the FSSAI norms, right? Okay. Otherwise we don't do that. But we take all the precaution in terms of handling. For example, everybody will wear a gloves, and everybody when they walk into a warehouse, they are actually first checked for their own health condition. So all those things we do. We maintain social distance within the store. For example, the store was, let's say, capacitized to do 3,000 orders, and that required, let's say, concurrent working of 35 people at a particular point of time. Nowadays, we have restricted that to not more than 25 people. That way, we are ensuring that. So even it means that 3,000 order gets reduced to 2,200 or 2,000. That's okay for us because we don't want to compromise on safety standards. So that's the way we do. I mean, we don't use any disinfectant. If at all we use, it's only what is allowed by the standards.
One of the questions that we have is, what's your distribution cost, if it can be mentioned as a percentage of your top line?
Yeah, why not? I can even share the figure, no issue at all. See, as you saw in my presentation, the key delivery happens through two modes. One is vans, other one is bikes. So vans, naturally, they handle higher number of orders and heavier orders. We largely use vans for carrying orders with higher number of items and also higher weight. It can be, I mean, for example, if you order only 125 kilo rice bag, it will still go through only van. It won't go through bike, obviously. Sure. Right? If you order, let's say, 35 items, all of them are, let's say, half a kg or a quarter kg, that will go through van. So that's one simple. Similarly, if you order one bucket, which is a non-cratable item, we call it as that will also go only through van. Sure. Smaller quantity will go through bike. Typically, our bike delivery costs, right, or per delivery, it will be approximately about 65 rupees at this point of time. See, there is a range. I mean, for example, some cities we have managed to do 57 rupees also. Call an average around 60, 62 rupees. Our goal is to try and see how to go to about 55. Right? Because that will be very healthy for us. But as you can imagine, that has got a lot of relationship with the penetration, with the concentration of customer base and all. So in dense pockets, we have been able to go closer to 57 now. In spread out markets, it's still slightly higher, but we will eventually reach there. We know the drivers now. We understand what takes us there. Therefore, we are very confident we'll go there. And van, we are currently at about 100 rupees approximately, because van carries more number of orders, and value of the order carried by van is also much higher. Therefore, in percentage terms, it is still pretty good. It will be about 5%. See, the weighted percentage will be about 6.5%, 7%.
Good. So I got the final warning bell from the organizers. I think we are running out of time. Let me conclude by thanking you, and I really liked your farm to fork kind of a concept. I think there is no one more perishable than us in this, I would say, because after 7 o'clock, I think our product loses all its value. And thank you. Nice chatting with you, Bala. Thanks again for sharing the deeper insights. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sridhar. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
much. Thank you, sir. So now I request all the participants to go back in timeline, join the next session. Thank you.